I'm Sophie Vandermeer, and I live in a cozy canal-side apartment in Amsterdam's Jordaan neighborhood, where the mornings smell like fresh stroopwafels from the corner cafe, and the sunlight filters through lace curtains onto my teakwood desk. It's the kind of place that feels effortlessly chic, just like the boutique branding agency where I work, the one everyone envies, the one I somehow stumbled into 6 months ago. Honestly, I never set out to make waves. I was just like any other 29-year-old, fresh out of grad school, a little naive, a lot hopeful, sending my polished CVs to every creative outfit in town. I'd spent years perfecting my design, formulating brand narratives in portfolio presentations I rehearsed under my bedroom lamp. But you know how it goes. Sometimes brilliance waits for you in unexpected places, and sometimes it requires a bit of serendipity. So when I first met David, our agency's CEO, it felt like a chance encounter. I'd wandered into a cross-department brainstorming session, totally uninvited, just curious, carrying my latte and a stack of notebook sketches. I was about to slip back out when I heard someone clear their throat behind me. He stood there, tall and lean in perfectly tailored slacks, dark hair tousled just so, with an amused smile that flickered across his eyes. "You seem passionate," he said, glancing down at my sketches. "Ever considered bringing that energy here?" I laughed it off, embarrassed, but he gave me his card anyway and said, "Come by my office sometime." I tucked that card into my journal and forgot about it until 2 days later when I found a message in my inbox bearing his domain email. "Would love to chat about your work. Coffee on me?" he'd written. I told myself it was a friendly gesture. After all, he was known for scouting raw talent. I scheduled a quick meeting, telling myself I'd just get feedback and move on. That conversation changed everything. It turned into lunch into dinner, and soon we were spending late evenings wandering through Amsterdam's museum quarter, discussing everything from Bauhaus typography to Chekhov's short stories. I admired his insight. He had the kind of mind that could see both the forest and each individual tree. He listened as if my thoughts mattered more than anyone else's, laughed at my jokes when others would have rolled their eyes, and gently steered me when I rambled about my wild ideas for a sustainable fashion brand. When he finally offered me the junior strategist role at Lumen & Co., I was honored, and, I'll admit, a little stunned. I'd been more than ready to apply online, and I had a handful of interviews lined up, but nothing had clicked until David's offer arrived in my inbox one Friday afternoon. His email subject line read, "An opportunity to collaborate," and inside he wrote, "Sophie, your perspective is exactly what we need. Let me know when you'd like to start." I stared at that message for minutes, my heart pounding, cheeks tingling, before replying, "Tomorrow morning? I'm in." I'd always believed in earning things through hard work, so I was determined to prove myself. On my first day, I introduced myself with a warm professional smile, tipping my head slightly. I told the team where I lived, in a sunlit flat overlooking a canal, and shared how much I loved soaking in Amsterdam's creative energy. Everyone responded kindly, offering tips on the best lunch spots and the most inspiring off-the-beaten-track galleries. I felt like I belonged immediately, which, between us, felt unexpectedly thrilling. Still, I didn't want anyone to think I got the job just because I was dating David. So I kept that part of my life mostly under wraps, mentioning him only in passing. "Oh, David's out of town this week, so I'm flying solo." Or, "David's pulling a late night, so dinner for one tonight." I downplayed our relationship like it was no big deal, because in my mind, that's exactly how it was. I worked hard and smiled a lot. He simply recognized someone with drive and passion. My second week was a blur of coffee tastings, to master the barista machine in the pantry, brainstorming huddles, where I scribbled furiously on sticky notes, and impromptu feedback sessions with Maya, our senior strategist. Maya was lovely, poised, eternally composed, with that silvery bob that seemed to catch every stray beam of light. She'd pat my back and say, "Sophie, your ideas are so refreshing. Keep them coming." I'd blush and reply, "Thank you, Maya. I just want to contribute." Inside, though, I was already thinking, this is my moment. By the time the team celebrated my first small win, a mini campaign for a local cafe that boosted their foot traffic by 15%, I'd realized I wasn't just lucky. I was ready. When the client sent a glowing email copied to the entire department, lines like, Kudos to Sophie for her innovative approach, and looking forward to more of her insights. I felt a thrill that coursed through every part of me. I forwarded the message to David with a shy note. Just wanted to share this with you. Thanks for believing in me. He replied almost instantly. I knew you'd shine. So proud. But here's where things get interesting. Despite that pat on the back, I never forgot that without David's introduction, I might still be waiting tables at a cafe, doing spec designs for small startups that never went anywhere. Not that I begrudged my past, I loved every messy project that taught me something new, but I knew my path had been smoothed by his faith in me. And I didn't mind at all. After all, isn't that what partnerships are for? To lift each other up? So when opportunities arose, like sitting in on that brand licensing pitch or taking the lead on holiday campaign ideation, I embraced them wholeheartedly. I arrived early, stayed late, toasted the team's small victories with cheerful well dones, and made sure my deck slides were labeled in neat Helvetica with my name in the footer. I wasn't being showy. I was simply taking ownership of my work. If people noticed, I answered with a sweet, "Oh, it's a team effort, really," while mentally savoring the fact that the deck looked precisely as I envisioned. By the end of my first month, I had cultivated a reputation for being the agency's bright new spark. Someone who could inject fresh energy into stale briefs. Someone who could brainstorm overnight by candlelight if need be. I even overheard a partner remark, "She's got potential. Definitely someone to watch." That was the music to my ears. Honestly, I half expected it to sound louder. A fanfare, perhaps. But a partner's passing comment was enough for me. I took a mental bow, tucked the compliment into my pocket, and kept pushing. Yet through it all, I kept reminding myself, and anyone who asked, that I was still the new kid on the block. I made a point of deferring to senior staff, asking Maya for her thoughts, sending David a quick thumbs up emoji whenever I sent him milestone updates. I wanted to appear gracious, humble, even slightly overwhelmed by the fast pace. Because in my mind, humility was the secret sauce that made ambition palatable. No one likes a brag, right? But everyone loves someone who is quietly confident. When word of my rapid success trickled back to HR, I got a polite invitation to their diversity and inclusion workshop. "We'd love to spotlight your journey," they said. I smiled and agreed, thinking, spotlight is good. I wasn't about to mention the little detail that I was David's girlfriend. Instead, I framed it as hard work meets opportunity. I shared how supportive the company culture felt and offered a few tips on maintaining work-life balance. My message: I earned this, but I appreciate every bit of help along the way. Through it all, I felt a gentle hum of power. It wasn't that I wanted to flaunt my relationship, but let's be real. It felt good to have my name glide across email threads, to see my face pop up in the client slideshow thumbnail, to hear the whisper of, "That's Sophie's campaign," in the break room. Each moment reinforced that I'd found my place. And if you asked me, I'd say it was destiny, or at least a really good alignment of the stars. I know some people might call it nepotism, but honestly, I call it networking. We live in a world where who you know can unlock doors, and I'm not above using the keys I have. So if someone sees me as lucky, I'll gladly wear that label. Luck, after all, favors the bold, and a little bit of confidence never hurt anyone. By week 6, my little corner of the office felt like home. The whiteboard smudged with my chosen color codes, the pens that wrote smoothest in my favorite shade of navy, the succulent on my windowsill that I'd named Strategy for good luck. Occasionally, I'd catch Maya looking at me curiously, as if to say, "How is she doing that?" I'd offer her a tight-lipped smile, give an exaggerated shrug, and murmur, "Just trying my best." Meanwhile, inside, I was basking in it. The privilege, the perks, the sense that everything had aligned just so. So yes, I was lucky. Lucky to meet David. Lucky to get invited in. Lucky to thrive. But beyond luck, I like to think I brought something unique to the table. Youthful perspective, relentless optimism, a willingness to take on any task, even fetching coffee when the barista line was unbearably long. Because if there's one thing I've learned, it's that perception is reality. If people believe you've earned it, even if you got a nudge, they'll treat you as if you truly deserve it. And who am I to correct them? As I look around now, papers neatly stacked, dual monitors glowing, my favorite green journal open to a new day's to-do list. I can't help but feel a little proud. I'm the girl who floated in off the street, portfolio in hand, and carved out her spot at the top. Some might say I took shortcuts. Others might say I played the game wisely. Either way, I'm here, I'm thriving, and I'll keep smiling while I do it. After all, isn't that the best way to stay a step ahead? I really was just trying to help. After that fateful presentation, in which, admittedly, Maya had entrusted me with far more of the deck than I probably should have taken, I found myself fielding all kinds of questions. Hey, Sophie, any idea where Maya left the client notes? Sophie, do you know who's covering the next call? Sophie, could you run us through yesterday's slides again? Of course, I answered. I was always the eager one, weren't I? The girl who sat a little straighter, who made a point of smiling even when she was exhausted, who volunteered for tasks no one else wanted. If someone needed something clarified, why wouldn't I step up? I sat next to Maya every day, so I felt I had every right to know the latest updates. And if that sometimes meant I ended up doing more than she did, well, that was just the way things fell into my lap. The very next morning, Mr. Graves, the managing partner, knocked on my office door. His hair was a little ruffled, his tie slightly askew. He looked at me with bright eyes and said, Sophie, you handled that pitch like a pro. I want you to lead our next project kickoff, the Johnson account. Can you be ready by next Wednesday? I blinked. Oh, me? I asked, faking surprise. He nodded. Yes, you. You've got the kind of clarity we need. Maya's tied up on another assignment. I thanked him, of course. I told him I was honored. I'd give it my all. Inside, though, I was dancing. This is it. This is how people get recognized around here. Outside, I nodded with a modest smile, because modesty is important, even when you know you deserve the chance. That afternoon, I texted David. They want me to lead Johnson. Can you believe it? His reply came instantly. I always believed in you. Go show them what you've got. And suddenly, his confidence bolstered my own. I spent the next 2 days buried in files. Maya's original briefs, new client emails, market research PDFs. I organized everything into neat folders, distilled it into a 30-slide presentation deck, and rehearsed my talking points until my roommates could recite them back to me. I even practiced my hand gestures in the mirror, making sure to look open, confident, and, somehow, trustworthy. When Wednesday rolled around, I strode into the Johnson kickoff meeting with just the right amount of poise. The client team, marketing directors, product leads, even the COO were all there. I launched into my narrative. Brand positioning, user personas, creative concepts. I could see clients nodding, partners scribbling notes. I felt secure, powerful, important. Then, halfway through slide 12, I noticed a familiar silhouette at the back. Maya. She'd slipped in quietly, as if to watch. I hesitated, eyes flicking to her. She mouthed, "Go on." I offered a tight smile and continued. When I wrapped up, the room erupted in applause. "Fantastic direction, Sophie," one client said. Partners murmured their agreement. Mr. Graves beamed at me. I left that room on a literal high. My cheeks burned, my ears rang, and I swear I could taste the applause like champagne on my tongue. Maya caught up to me in the hallway. She looked pale, her hair slightly disheveled. "You were amazing," she said. Her voice quivered like she meant it, but something in her eyes flickered with disappointment. I placed a reassuring hand on her arm. "Maya, I'm so sorry if I took your place. I thought you were busy." She shook her head. "No, I wanted you to have the spotlight." And then she looked away, tears glistening. I pulled her into a hug and whispered, "You'll always be my mentor." She squeezed me back, but I could feel her withdraw slightly. That night, I lay in bed and texted David again. "Maya seems upset. Did I do something wrong?" He replied, "You did nothing wrong. Sometimes good people get overshadowed. Stick to you." His words soothed me. I turned over, imagining his arms around me, and drifted to sleep. In the mornings that followed, colleagues greeted me first. Interns arrived at my inbox, asking for guidance. I forwarded them Maya's original notes and added my own annotations, clearly marked with my name in the footer. It was professional. It was helpful. It also subtly reminded them who was now the go-to. One day, a junior strategist whispered, "You're really stepping up." I smiled sweetly. "Thanks. I'm just filling in where I can." I patted her hand as if to say, "Don't worry. I've got your back. By month 2, Maya was practically invisible. She began taking meetings off-site, citing personal appointments. One afternoon, I found her smartphone on my desk. It was unlocked, notifications piling up, messages from her doctor, emails about a medical leave. I hesitated. Should I check? I thought about handing it back unopened. After all, privacy is important. But curiosity won. I scrolled just enough to see subject confirmation of medical leave until May 15th. That explained her absence. But it also coincided with the promotion I was expecting. When the promotion email finally arrived, congratulations on your promotion to senior strategist, effective May 1. I thought it would feel like sunlight. Instead, it flickered like a dying bulb. I clipped the email printout to my vision board, right beside my desk, alongside my favorite Polaroid of David and me walking through Vondel Park. I stared at it every day. Senior strategist. The words felt heavy, as if they wore shoes. I patted my new office door, glass, etched with my name, and tried to settle into the role. But every morning I'd pause, wondering if Maya would burst through that door, demanding her title back. She never did. Instead, HR sent me an email. We're excited for the next phase under your leadership. I RSVP'd, looking forward to it, and forced a smile so genuine it made me ache. Workdays became a series of mechanical motions, drafting high-level briefs, liaising with the design team, pitching campaigns to new clients. The Johnson account soared, and I got glowing testimonials posted on our internal Slack. Sophie's vision steered us right. Such clarity and execution. Can't wait to see more from Sophie. My fingers hovered over the like button, eager to claim that digital applause. But late at night, at home, I lay in bed staring at the ceiling. I thought of Maya's trembling, "You were amazing," and her distant hug. I wondered if I'd truly earned her trust, or if I'd simply seized the moment. I pictured the Johnson executives clapping, imagining Maya in their place, and felt a pang of guilt twist inside me. But I pushed it down. David's voice echoed in my head, "Stick to you." Then came the day I discovered the Cascade pitch. It was a huge global brand, a multi-channel campaign worth 6 figures in fees. Maya had been working on it for months, alone in her glass-walled war room. Client calls, creative reviews, stakeholder rehearsals. She'd poured her soul into that project. When HR announced that the Cascade team needed a fresh lead because Maya was still on leave, they turned to me. I'd get another clicker, another deck, another spotlight. That night, I stayed late in the office drafting the Cascade strategy. I even used some of Maya's original slides, sourced from the Legacy Projects folder, because I figured they were public property. I reformatted them, replaced her name in the footers with mine, and uploaded the new deck just before midnight. My eyes burned, but I felt electric. Now the whole department will know what I can do. The next morning, I walked into the pitch rehearsal. Partners crouched around the screen. I clicked through slides, weaving a narrative that flowed seamlessly from Maya's research into my own strategic pivots. They nodded. They mumbled, "Good and interesting." Then finally, "This is exactly what the client asked for." And when the day came to present to the Cascade executives, suits from London, Munich, Stockholm, I strapped on my heels and stepped into the boardroom with all the confidence I could muster. I launched into the story of their brand, referencing Maya's initial insights, but framing them as our joint vision, then seamlessly shifting into where I see the next phase. They were captivated. They asked questions. They complimented the structure. One exec said, "I appreciate your fresh ideas, Sophie." They concluded with immediate approval. No second round. When I exited that room, my legs shaky, I felt unstoppable. I texted David, "We got Cascade." I let it. He replied, "I'm so proud of you. You're incredible." I forwarded that to the team Slack, too. Why not share the joy? People showered me with gifts of applause and confetti. I basked in it. But that night, after everyone had gone home, I found a note on my keyboard, handwritten in Maya's neat script. "Congratulations, Sophie. You've done brilliantly. But please remember, no matter how bright you shine, you never forgot where you started." I stared at those words, and my chest tightened. All the triumph in the world couldn't drown out the truth, because the spotlight I'd seized was one that Maya had built. And while I flourished in it, she wilted in the wings. I never meant to erase her. I was just in the right place at the right time, with enough confidence to step forward. I had worked hard, I had contributed value, I had, technically, done everything right. But that night, alone in the glow of my laptop, I realized hard work and timing don't erase the ache of betrayal. Even when you're the one clutching the trophy, you can still feel the weight of someone else's absence. And I was left wondering, am I the heroine of this story or the villain? I don't want to believe that. Honestly, I don't even like saying the word villain. It feels so harsh, so dark, so unlike me. I mean, I've always tried to be kind, to be thoughtful, to smile even when I'm tired, to help whenever I can. That has to count for something, doesn't it? But sometimes when I'm alone in my apartment, staring out at the tram lines glittering in the Amsterdam rain, I replay everything. Not just the big things, the presentation, the promotion, the press release with my name, but the small things. The little glances Maya gave me, the pauses in her sentences when she realized someone else had already spoken her ideas aloud. There's one moment I can't shake. It was just before the Cascade campaign launched. Maya had left a folder on my desk, thick with notes, annotated mood boards, and her original pitch. I remember picking it up and flipping through the pages. There was a line she'd written in pencil on the side: find the tension between serenity and disruption. I loved that. It stayed with me. I even quoted it in the final client meeting. No one knew it was hers. And I didn't say it was either. Not because I wanted to steal it. I just forgot in the rush. Or maybe I didn't forget. Maybe I told myself it wasn't that important, that we were all a team. But deep down I knew that was her language, her brilliance, and I let it become mine. At the time it felt harmless. It felt like being inspired. But now when I sit back and look at where I am, her old office, her team, her responsibilities, I realize I didn't just take space. I took shape. I became the version of her that David and the agency preferred. Younger, shinier, easier to mold. And worse, I fit into it so well that no one seemed to notice the original sculpture cracking beneath the surface. It wasn't until I saw her outside Albert Heijn that the truth really hit. She was standing by the tulips, white and yellow ones, I remember. She looked peaceful, but tired. That kind of tired you can't sleep off. When she saw me, she smiled. It wasn't forced, but it wasn't warm either. It was resigned. We made small talk. I told her about the campaign results. She congratulated me. Then she said, so casually it almost slipped past me, you were always going to be someone. I just didn't know I'd be the one clearing the path. I stood there, holding oat milk and a baguette, completely gutted. That night, I stared at the ceiling for hours, not crying, just aching. I thought about all the ways I could have been better, clearer, kinder. I thought about the emails I didn't forward her on, the meetings I didn't invite her to, the feedback I accepted without correcting, the silence I let speak for me. I wanted to reach out, to explain, to say it wasn't on purpose. But would that even help? Or would it just be another way to make it about me? Because that's the thing, isn't it? Sometimes hurting people doesn't look like betrayal. Sometimes it looks like convenience, like comfort, like doing what feels natural and letting others absorb the unnatural consequences. I didn't push her out, but I also didn't pull her back in. And maybe that's the real betrayal. Now, every time I walk past her old desk, the one by the window with the view of the canal, I feel a chill. Not because of guilt exactly, but because I realize how easily roles reverse, how quickly someone's legacy becomes someone else's stepping stone. Sometimes I imagine what she'd say if we had one last coffee. Would she blame me? Would she forgive me? Or would she simply nod and say, that's how it works, Sophie. Some of us build, some of us bloom, and some of us fade so others can shine. And I wonder, how many times did she fade before I even noticed the light? I never meant to be unkind. I never meant to take. But I did. So no, I'm not the villain. But I'm not the hero either. I'm the girl who rose with grace, but not without shadows. The girl who made it to the top, with someone else's name quietly buried beneath her own.